Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is hop. Let's take a moment and review some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you may hear or see hop used means to move by jumping on one foot. Related to that is the second definition, to spring or leap a short distance with one jump. And a third related way to use hop can mean to jump over something. I hope you can see a connection to all three definitions here. We have that idea of something moving through the air. Many times when people use hop, they're thinking about a short distance. For some people, they think about animals, describing the action of a frog or a rabbit as well. We're going to look at some other ways hop gets used, but these basic definitions, as you can see, are all connected to that idea of jumping. For now, you should know that hop is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, we're going to need to make a spelling change. And that's because we have a one-syllable verb with one vowel that ends in the pattern of a consonant-vowel-consonant. So what we need to do is double the ending consonant, the letter P, before we add the ing suffix. That forms hopping. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are going to require the same spelling change because we are adding a suffix that starts with a vowel letter. So I'm going to add a second P before I add ed. Now the base verb here, hop, ends with an unvoiced consonant sound. This means when I add the ed ending, I'm going to make a T sound. Okay? But I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. So the past tense and participle forms should sound like this. Hopped, hopped. There are actually a number of phrasal verbs connected to our verb hop, and we'll begin to kind of discuss many of these. One thing I think we'll see with this pattern is we're talking about a lot of quick actions. So not so much physical jumping, but I think the idea that a jump can happen quickly might have led to some of these meanings. So one phrasal verb you might encounter is hop from. This generally means someone is making a quick change. This could be a change in their position, their location, or even from activity to activity. So an example of this might be, he's hopped from job to job over the last 2 years. What this suggests is that someone is not staying with a particular job for a longer period. Instead, they're moving again and again to new jobs. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to hop in or hop into. That generally means we're getting or we're climbing into something. I've got 2 examples of this. So you might hear somebody say something like, I'll hop in the shower and be ready in 10 minutes. Right? So this implies I'm going to physically get into the shower, take a quick shower, and then be ready. When you hear another way, I should say, that you might encounter or hear this is directing someone to get in a car, right? So somebody might say something like, hop in and let's get to the hospital, right? They're telling you to enter. Another phrasal verb that you might encounter is to hop off. This generally means someone is exiting or they're getting off of something. How you might hear this used. Hop off the bus at the next stop, right? So again, this is not like a physical jump. They don't want you to jump while exiting, just kind of a quick way or quick turn of phrase here. Related to this is hop on, right? So you might hear that kind of with the bus again, let's hop on or hop off. So hop on is getting on something or entering a particular place. An example of this. Once we hop on the plane, we'll be there in no time. So I think this hop off and hop on is something you'll hear a lot with transportation. So moving from one place to another using some kind of vehicle or system of transportation. Another phrasal verb is hop out. This can mean to get off or get out of something rather quickly. Oh, sometimes I know my spouse and I use this sometimes as we're doing errands. So one person might say, I'll hop out and pick up the bag, right? So kind of another way of saying I'm going to get out of the car, pick up the thing, and get back in, right? The emphasis is really on how quickly something is being done. The last phrasal verb we'll discuss today is to hop over. This generally means someone or something is passing quickly from place to place. Example of this, I'll hop over to the coffee shop now. So you might hear a friend or coworker, a colleague say something like this when they're en route or they're planning to go to a particular place. Now let's continue using our verb of the day in a couple different verb tenses. Today let's review the past perfect and the simple future with a focus on be going to. We will start with the past perfect, which we use to note that a particular action was completed at some point in the past, before a specific time or before another action. To make past perfect sentences, our structure or the pattern in which we make sentences will stay the same. So we'll always start with a subject, then we're going to use the past form of have, that's had, and then you use the participle form of the verb. And because hop is a regular verb, our participle looks exactly the same as the past tense. Here is an example. 4 stowaways had hopped on the cruise ship not knowing where it was headed. Now I realize the second word in this sentence, stowaway, might be new for some people. What this noun means is this is someone who has not purchased a ticket. They're not a crew member. They've secretly gotten on the cruise ship here. Again, some people have done this in terms or in an attempt to get away from some other place. So here we're talking about people entering or getting on to the cruise ship, but they didn't know where it was headed. To make negative sentences in the past perfect, what we'll do again is start with a subject. We're going to use had not and then the participle. Now, had not can also be combined into the contraction hadn't. Here's an example. The bunny hadn't hopped all morning, so we were worried that it was injured. So this sentence might go back to one of our very first definitions, right, where we're talking about kind of small jumps. Finally, let's talk about making a yes or no question in the past perfect. To do this, start with had, then use your subject, and then the participle form of the verb. Here's another example. Had he hopped from school to school before dropping out? So remember, this is our phrasal verb where we're talking about someone going or changing places or locations rather quickly or after short periods of time. And that's what that question is asking. We kind of want to know, did this person move from school to school before another event? Now let's move on and talk a little bit about the simple future. Today we're going to make sentences with be going to. We use be going to most commonly as we discuss plans. You might hear it sometimes with people's predictions or promises, but it's a little less common in that way. The tricky thing about remembering how to make sentences in the simple future is that we must pay attention to our subject. Our subject is going to tell us which form of be we need to use next. Okay? So if my subject is I'm going to use am going to and then the base verb. So no special endings, no suffixes on the end of the verb. But if the subject is you, we, or they, use are, A-R-E, going to, and the base verb. And finally, if your subject is he, she, or it, use is going to, and then the base verb. Let's look at another example. The kids are going to hop from square to square when we play this game. Okay. This sentence would also go back to some of those earlier definitions. I know with this, I'm sort of picturing moving on one leg. So standing on one leg and making that small jump in the air. So this might be the plan as far how the game is going to work. Now let's talk about negative simple future sentences. Again, we pay attention to our subject. Then we use the form of be that matches it. After be is going to be not, then going to, and the base verb. Let's look at another example. We aren't going to hop out while it's raining. Right? So here maybe somebody's suggesting I'm not going outside. I'm not getting out of the car. Maybe it's raining really, really hard. I don't want to get wet. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, start with a form of be, am, is, or are. Then use your subject, whatever subject matches, right? We want those to stay consistent. Then use going to and the base verb. Here's one last example. Is the college athlete going to hop into the transfer portal? Now, if you live outside of the United States, this sentence probably does not make any sense at all. But there's a rather new system here in the United States for individuals who play college sports. And so they have kind of a way to join and move schools. They can do it at certain times and not be penalized, not lose their eligibility to participate. So that's really what that sentence is. Just really talking about someone kind of joining or entering this particular online system. Now let's move on and talk about some words and phrases related to our verb hop. And the first word we're going to talk about today is just the noun form of this word. The noun form has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. When I use the noun hop, I could be referring to some type of hopping movement, right? So, example of this, sometimes you hear in games, take one hop forward. Right? So somebody might, again, be asking you to make either a small jump or a jump on one leg. A second way to use the noun hop is to talk about some short journey, a rather short distance. Might have heard somebody say something like, oh, it's a quick hop to the grocery store, right? It doesn't actually mean they're going to jump all the way there. They're just describing it as being rather quick. And then a third way hop can be used can be similar to bounce or a rebound. An example of this might be, the shortstop fielded the ball on one hop. Okay? This sentence ties back to the sport of baseball. We might be able to picture someone swinging, making contact with the ball. The ball hits the ground, right? Bounces once, and then another athlete, or in this case, the shortstop, catches it. Okay? That's what that sentence is describing. Now, hops can also be a noun. So I've added an S to the root word there. And this has a slightly different meaning. So most common to hear it in the plural. It's talking about a specific type of a cone-like flower. It's a specific plant that is most commonly used in order to flavor beer. So I am not a beer drinker, so I'm not an expert in this, but I've got a picture in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen so you can kind of imagine what this looks like. I know they can be very strong in smell sometimes, so an example of this form of the noun in a sentence might be, the college students learned to grow hops last year and are now brewing their own beer. Right, so this is an ingredient that I believe is quite necessary, or most people view as being necessary to make that particular alcoholic beverage. Now, a phrase you might encounter is a hop, skip, and jump. Sometimes people use this rather long phrase just to talk about something being a very short distance. An example of how this might sound. My in-laws just live a hop, skip, and jump away from us. Right? So would mean they're very close, right? I'm not going to have to drive there. I'm not going to have to ride a plane to visit. One other phrase you might run into is to hop to it. Generally, when people use this, they want some type of action to begin and begin now, right? So it's kind of like a way of saying get to work. So an example of this might be, this needs to be finished today, right? Maybe we're looking at a project, an assignment, something in our workplace. And so the boss, the supervisor says, let's hop to it, right? This is an indication you need to get to work, start moving quickly. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.